Good morning. That's weird. It's like, hi, Linda. Gosh, it's going quick. I can't even see everybody's names. Pink hearts. Who's got the pink hearts? Those are pretty. Thank you. So we're doing a daily reading out of Course in Miracles. Good morning, Linda. Nice to see you. And then we talk about how to practically apply it, because studying the Course in Miracles is difficult if you don't. Hey, Mom. Hey. If you don't, then figure out how to use the teachings in daily life. So today's reading sort of is about dreaming bigger, I think. And I don't have the big book with me. It's going to be Thursday before I can get that. So and this comes out of the teacher manual, so we won't read the whole expanded one, but we can still talk about it. There's enough here. So today, happy holiday for Labor Day. September 7th reading comes from, if you want to look it up for yourself, the Manual for Teachers, Chapter 4, Section 1, Section 2. Anyway, you can DM me if you want the exact citation. Hey, Tanya. Turquoise. We got turquoise and green and pink. For September 7th is thank you. I tried to keep the title shorter so it was easy. Hey, Brianna. Brianna, my twin granddaughters have red hair like yours. Okay. So September 7th is, who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? I see you, guy in the woods there. So there's a couple of things I want to say about that. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when we have the mighty power of an eagle? But we don't often feel that power. And I'm seeing that, hi Nina. I'm seeing that reflected in the readers who are struggling. Periscope is kind of putting them face to face with their ability to receive. Hey, Deb. You can see the discomfort in receiving donations. However, they're doing free readings almost on a daily basis, so it's appropriate now and then to let people know that they take donations. And, none of them are seeking or requesting or demanding donations. Nice to see you too. Good morning. You have the pumpkin spice color today. And part of that is because we think ourselves as sparrows when we really are eagles. I mean, we have the power of the universe at our disposal. That's what's been given to us. We have access to that in any moment. But we don't always take advantage of that. So I'm going to pick on Sarah Ballard, because she even she's getting better. She's been practicing and working on receiving. But even a few days ago, when someone brought up a donation or a tip jar kind of thing, her whole face turned red and then her chest would flush. So it's the sensitive people and the most compassionate people, I think, that have the hardest time receiving the same thing that they so readily give others. Part of what I do for people on here who don't know is, my name's Michelle Wolf, and I'm a coach for healers and helpers and compassionate types who are always serving others and forget to make a plan to serve themselves. So we choose to be so tiny. Not that there's anything wrong with sparrows. We all love sparrows. But we choose to keep small and tiny and kind of invisible like sparrows. When, with some practice, we can move into that eagle energy that's bigger, and comes with more notice, but also keeps a more even flow of give and take. The second part of that reading says, who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? I think people who are doing active readings and are more connected to those gifts of God forget that we still have a human nature. I'm not talking about anyone in particular now. But we forget that we still have bills to pay. Like, you have access to this enormous energy and you're putting it out there. There can still be blocks in the way of receiving back what you deserve. I'm wondering if, I know that the people who follow around in these circles are sensitive, intuitive people, and I'm wondering if you guys have struggles with receiving. If you're always the giver, and when people try to give back to you, it's uncomfortable. And that means even buying you a cup of coffee, or picking up the tab for dinner, or paying you a compliment. Is that still hard? Healers, and yes, it makes you feel uncomfortable. It feels all squirmy inside for most people. So that makes it difficult. For a couple of things. It makes it your chance of burning out and getting resentful goes up. I'm not saying you're doing that, just in general. When we're always the giver, we have to retreat at some point. You have to make yourself say thank you. So you still have that squirmy, like, feeling inside. It's so hard. It feels like if I have more than I need, I must start giving it to others. Right. So it's similar to that happiness threshold we've talked about before. So the ability to tolerate the good stuff can be harder for people who are naturally healers and helper types. It can be harder to receive the good because it can feel really uncomfortable in our body. And that's where I've been referring people to the EFT tapping or Sarah Ballard's Koya classes, which are on Katch, katch.me/thrive with Sarah, and Koya is Qoya. If you're a constant giver and you're a healer and a helper and you feel physically uncomfortable when someone's giving back to you, you need a body movement. That sounded horrible. You need a body practice, a physical activity. Koya classes are a sacred class that, right? That's gross. You need a massage, you need some lymphatic drainage, you need something with your body to let that energy come in and get comfortable with that feeling of being receptive. So what I would recommend is, if you do a physical practice, imagine getting everything you want. So like purposefully create that uncomfortable, squirmy, yucky feeling. Pretend while you're getting a massage, or pretend while you're doing Koya dancing or any kind of dancing, that someone's trying to hand you a bundle of money or a chunk of love or whatever it is that's hard for you to receive. Imagine that happening, create the discomfort on purpose, and then dance through it. Give your body a chance to get comfortable with pulling that energy in. Usually we feel it in our solar plexus, and sometimes our chest will get tight. So imagine pulling it in and just letting it go wherever it wants to go. That's a way we keep ourselves separate too. And if we can't say no, if we have trouble setting boundaries, sometimes that squirmy, uncomfortable feeling is a boundary thing, and that's another topic. Right now I'm just talking about how it can get really uncomfortable when you think of yourself as an eagle instead of a sparrow. When you place your faith in the larger picture, the larger scheme of things, rather than the 50 cents. So say the 5 million as opposed to the 50 cents. Like, you'd probably be comfortable if someone gave you 50 cents or $1. That would probably be okay. Maybe even $5. But if someone wants to give you $50, it would probably be uncomfortable for some people. Not everybody, but for some. So say one of the exercises I saw a long time ago, and I don't remember where, was to pretend that strangers would come up and offer you a $100 bill. If I ever have enough money to do this experiment, I'm totally going to do it to see what happens. I think it might have been a social experiment, so it could have been in a sociology class or something. But a lot of people would say no, because being handed $100, your immediate thought is either I don't deserve it, or if I take this 100, what are you going to ask of me? So that's something to look at too. If I take your compliment, are you then going to take more from me? If I receive energy back from you, am I then obligated to give you more back? I mean, it's a complicated issue, but one that we need to look at, especially when we're doing this daily practice of Course in Miracles stuff, where it's really asking us to think practically where we're separating ourselves from Source. Yeah. When you deny a compliment, you're denying God. When you deny happiness, you're denying your connection to God. Because if you're connected to the Source, if you're connected to the Goddess, Spirit, nature, whatever it is you label that, when you're connected to that, you feel good. And if you have a thing that says you can't feel good, or you're not supposed to, or you're not allowed to, or you don't deserve to, then you're going to continue to block the feeling of connecting to Spirit. Does that make sense? And earlier this week, we talked about resistance from the book War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. I'm going to read you one thing out of it, and then another thing that if you can pick up an ebook copy of Desire Map or whatever, I have a couple more days tickets on sale for a workshop, 5 weeks. It starts September 15th, but ticket sales end tomorrow morning, so I have time to mail you stuff. But even if you just read the book on your own and locate the feeling that you want to feel and use that as your anchor, you can start comparing it. When you slip off of it, you can go back to that anchor. And it can kind of start to pull you through the areas where you're resisting your connection. Because our bottom line is we want to feel good. We want the new house because we think it's going to make us feel good. We want the new car. We want whatever it is. We want the relationship because we think, oh, when I have that, I'm going to feel good. When you can feel good right now. Unless you have a belief in the way that says you're not allowed to. So then you have to start picking at stuff. So I flipped open this book today. I just, did the book flip. And this is what can happen when we stay stuck in choosing to be sparrows when we're actually eagles. This book almost didn't get written. So he says, Stephen Pressfield, when I began this book, resistance almost beat me, and this is the form it took. It told me, the voice in my head, that I was a fiction writer, not nonfiction, and I shouldn't be exposing these concepts of resistance literally. Rather, I should incorporate them metaphorically into a novel. That's a pretty damn subtle and convincing argument. The rationalization resistance presented me with was that I should write, say, a war piece, in which the principles of resistance were expressed as the fear a warrior feels. Resistance also told me I shouldn't seek to instruct or put myself forward as a purveyor of wisdom, that this is vain. As in, I'm going to stop here, as in, if any of you have the who are you, who do you think you are syndrome, the imposter syndrome, egotistical, possibly even corrupt, and that it would work harm to me in the end, and that scared me, and it made a lot of sense. Right, imposter syndrome is huge. If you want a copy of a really cool PDF on him that talks about imposter syndrome, just DM me your email address and I'll send it to you. What finally convinced me to go ahead was simply that I was so unhappy not going ahead. I was developing symptoms. I feel I need to be an expert. We all do. We all do. Until we get past that imposter syndrome thing. Like, I couldn't be on here reading to you from stuff if I still had that. I'm just a bumbling person trying to get through life just like you. Just like all of us are. Even the people who seem to be experts still have areas of their life they're struggling. I mean, if they didn't, they wouldn't be human beings, right? They would already be angels or saints or whatever. None of us are that. So, resistance tells you, who the hell do you think you are? Who do you think you are to be talking about this stuff? Who do you think you are to be creating art or being a coach or whatever? It asks us to wait until we're perfect before we offer what we have to the world. So, you know, if you're waiting to be perfect, then you're never going to offer it, and we're all going to miss out on the gifts that you bring. Because you're not here if you don't have some gift. Right? Never. So, as soon as he sat down to begin to write, it went away, because it always does. As soon as you say, I'm going to do this art anyway, fuck you, resistance. I had in my office for a while a big piece of paper that said, fuck you, resistance. Because I knew that when I got to the easel, especially when I was first drawing, I would panic. And if I let the panic take over, I wouldn't draw. Because I wanted it to be perfect. And I wanted to only have to do it once. And I didn't want to have to erase. I mean, how arrogant is that? I wanted to just draw the drawing and have it be perfect. Because, you know, why not? That's not how it happens. You draw and then you adjust. And then you draw and adjust. And every time I finished a drawing, I became convinced that I could never do it again. That drawing was the only drawing I had in me, and that to even try to make another one was just ridiculous. And that whole cycle is ridiculous. Because, of course, if you can draw a drawing, and anybody can, if you can teach yourself anything. So, of course, if I completed one drawing, I could complete another and another. But it actually took 2 years for me to get over that, thinking that that's it. I only had 5 drawings in me for my whole lifespan, and I can't ever draw again. That's resistance. I think I may have, I can't remember if I already read this to you, but you know what? I'm going to read it again. And if you've already heard it, I'm not going to be offended if you sign off like, she already said that. Resistance and unhappiness. So I want you to know what resistance feels like so you can recognize it. Resistance is the imposter syndrome. It is the voice in your head that says, shut the hell up, you don't know what you're talking about. You're going to look like an idiot. Stop it. People are going to laugh at you. Quit it. What does resistance feel like? First, unhappiness. We feel like hell. Low-grade misery pervades everything. We're bored. We're restless. We can't get no satisfaction. There's guilt. So much guilt. But we can't put our finger on the source of it. We want to go back to bed. We want to get up and party. We feel unloved and unlovable. We're disgusted. We hate our lives. We hate ourselves. Unalleviated resistance can mount to a pitch that becomes unendurable. And at this point, a vice kicks in. So this is me. At this point is where addictions start. At this point is where we run away because we just can't handle the pain. So we go to dope, adultery, web surfing. I would add porn to that. I think that's where porn addictions come in. Any kind of addiction. Food addiction. Beyond that, resistance can become clinical. Depression, aggression, dysfunction, then actual crime and physical self-destruction. And we probably all know people who have physically self-destructed through addictions. Sounds like life, I know. It isn't. It's resistance. Your life is not. When your life is connected to source and you have an even flow or any kind of flow of give and take, life doesn't look like that. And the tendency to go toward an addictive behavior can still rise up, but you are able to go beyond it. You're able to recognize that it's resistance trying to, cut you off at the knees, and you stop. What makes it tricky is that we live in a consumer culture that's aware of this unhappiness and has massed all its profit-seeking artillery to exploit it by selling us a product, a drug, a distraction. So how many women have had plastic surgery because the marketing campaigns told them that they had to? Gave them the impression, exploited their insecurity about aging or the shape of their body into getting plastic surgery. I've had plastic surgery on my stomach, so I'm certainly not judging anyone. But if I went back in time, I would do things differently. John Lennon once wrote, "Well, you think you're so clever and classless and free, but you're all fucking peasants as far as I can see." So that's kind of harsh. But it can be true. And you guys are not that, because you're here listening. I know you're on other scopers listening. You're expanding your mind. You're soaking in this spirituality. So you're not at that level of mindless consumerism, I know. But as artists and professionals, it's our obligation to enact our own internal revolution, a private insurrection inside our own skulls. And in this uprising, we free ourselves from the tyranny of consumer culture, which can be found on Periscope too, with people competing with each other on Periscope, or it's like a yelling for your attention. Take a step back, see how you feel when you're connected to a broadcast. If you feel good, stay with it. If it makes you feel in the least bad or insecure, cut it off. Overthrow the programming of our culture around us. We unplug ourselves from the grid by recognizing we will never cure our restlessness by contributing our income to the bottom line of Bullshit Incorporated, but only by doing our work. And this is our work. What you guys are doing every day is how you escape the clutches of resistance. It is how you become willing to put your sparrow wings down and say, "Thank you, tiny sparrow wings. You have served me well. But now I'm ready to strap on the wings of an eagle. Now I'm ready to own the power that is within me. And any voice that tells me that I don't have that I don't deserve that I'm not allowed to have it, is resistance. And I call bullshit on that. And just get in that place where you call bullshit on your own internal voices when they try to stop you from sharing what you have in the world. If you aren't scoping but you're planning to scope, be prepared for a mass amount of resistance rising up that will try and keep you from scoping, because it's so uncomfortable in the beginning. Mark Shaw says give yourself 50. I just passed 50. I think I'm at 54 or something. And it's true. About 45 scopes, I started to get way more comfortable, and now I'm okay with it. But in the beginning, it was really hard talking to an empty camera. It was really hard to know what to say. It's a huge process. It's a great process, and I encourage it to everybody. Even if you just want to do a book club, even if you have a book that you love and you want to share that with other people, do it. Because Periscope will teach you a lot about yourself. I feel like I've been just like talking. Are you guys thinking? Are you ready to thank your tiny sparrow wings for being there for you and get ready to strap on your eagles, your eagle wings? Yeah. It's really struck me how big of a mirror Periscope can be, how it can really challenge you to be seen and really challenge you to own your own power. The good thing is it demonstrates that you don't have to be perfect. You definitely don't. Anybody can turn a camera on and start talking, and people will eventually find you and start listening and sharing. It's not a one-way. It's definitely a back and forth. Struck a chord in you have been something I have felt for years. Yeah. Because that's what resistance is. It's the natural resistance. Right now, everyone is floundering around on scope, so we should jump in now. No one's an expert. Right. Yeah. Everyone looks like an idiot on Periscope when they start. And it's okay. Because unless you get a troll, and we had some trolls pop in at the beginning of this, but then they just dropped off, which is fine because I totally would block them. I don't want to even talk to them. It's okay. Like, people about different things that I've been wanting to do through the years. And you've been stopping yourself because of the imposter syndrome stuff. You can Google that, or DM me your email, and I'll send you a packet, a PDF on it that I give to my Desire Map people, actually, because a lot of women especially have this. Because we were raised, you feel you're not ready, you never will be. You never, ever, ever will be ready. Yeah, send me your email, I'll send you this PDF. This comes up in Desire Map workshops all the time, because you start to realize where you've been limiting yourself, and you start to ask yourself, the more visible and more value, the more trolls, right? Oh, trolls. We all have these unacknowledged gifts. So women especially get the message that, basically to shut up. Don't say anything, don't rock the boat, keep the peace, just do your thing, get out of my way. You're not an expert, and who are you? The who are you thing. Who are you to talk? Who are you to take up space? That's garbage. And we have to start recognizing that. And the only way to recognizing that is those questions that we talk about. How can I see this differently? Someone's trying to give something to me and I feel squishy and uncomfortable inside. How can I receive this differently? How can I see the concept of receiving differently? How come I'm so uncomfortable when I think about being an eagle? If you're uncomfortable and you say, how can I feel differently about owning my power? And how can I feel differently about, how can I do this differently so that I can make it okay for me to go ahead and put it out there? And it doesn't get comfortable. Doing that just gives you the strength to turn the camera on, or to show someone your poetry, or talk to someone about the artwork you've been doing and hiding in your closet. Any questions? Do you have questions about this? I feel like I hear you guys thinking. I've been doing a lot of thinking myself. I hear that gear grinding sound sometimes in my head. Like when you're driving a stick shift and you miss a gear. And you're just trying to get into that next gear. It's so hard. But it can be done. Just, yeah. So, yeah, gear grinding. Trying to get to that next gear. We're always trying to get to the next gear. And there's never an end to the gears. So, that's really all I have today. Yep, I gotta get going too. It's a holiday. Yeah, it's a holiday, so I may or may not get to the Monday mood oil thing. I might take today off myself. Actually, I think I will. I'm going to give that to myself. I'm not going to do the Monday mood scope today. But we'll do meditation on Wednesday. And I'll see you every day talking about this stuff. Talk. So, thanks for coming. Yeah, I'm going to take a break. You're welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for all the hearts and the shares, and for just being here and sharing this experience with me. It's an honor. It's a total honor for me to get to talk to you. Okay, happy holiday.